it's Kales and I'm back! Happy New Year and all that jazz. I'm back in my house and I can finally make videos again. Like I mentioned, I was on vacation for Christmas and the New Year, and then I got hit with a cold, and I'm still kind of getting over it, as you can probably tell in my voice. But I miss you guys too much, and I want to make a video too badly. But right now, I just want to give you an old-fashioned December wrap-up video because I miss you guys, and yay! I ended up reading 8 books this month, guys. Like, that's a huge deal, mostly because I was on a 26-hour car ride and I had a lot of time on my hands. The first 2 books that I want to talk to you about that I read book 1 and book 2 in the Chronicles of Narnia series, The Magician's Nephew and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I actually haven't read the entire series. Don't get mad. I've only read up to The Voyage of Von Dretter, and I just am like, that book is so slow. There's a reason Walden Media stopped making the movies after they made that one. I really liked the characters of Peggy and Diggory in The Magician's Nephew, and I liked the origin story. It was very much an interesting insight into how Narnia was created. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was actually one of my favorites. I played the White Witch in the play version of this, and it's very dear to my heart. The only hard part I had with this book was having known the story so well I could recite it to you. It was a little boring because I was like, oh, I know what's gonna happen. But that's okay. I enjoyed getting to actually delve into it as an adult and really understand the language better and just really dive into this series. So I'm excited to continue this on in the month of January. The next book that I read was actually a reread for me, and I listened to it on audiobook, which was the BBC radio version, and oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was like watching a better version of the movie in my head, and that is The Hobbit by JRR Tolkin. And I really liked it. Like, it was like a play, the way that BBC radio did it, and some of the narration was told by Bilbo and his perspective, and I really enjoyed that. So anybody who hasn't listened to that audio version of this book, you should, especially if you're a big fan of audiobooks or just a big fan of theater. I don't know if you've ever listened to radio plays before, but they're awesome. I actually have the whole Lord of the Rings series on cassette tape. I have it in this pretty box, and they're all on cassette tape. I gotta find me a cassette player so that I can one day listen to them. And also in the month of December, I finished the Legend series by reading Prodigy and Champion by Maria Lu. And oh my gosh! Guys, it was so good. I didn't give it a 5 out of 5 stars because I had some trouble with the fight scenes and I was just kind of like, and they were boring and really confusing. I know, fight scenes boring, that doesn't make much sense, but I loved them otherwise. I love these characters so much, guys. The characters of June and Day are so much better developed and just awesome in this series. I mean, it's the typical, like, dystopian YA series, but I don't care. To me, it's better than Divergent. It's right up there with Hunger Games, and I didn't hate the ending as much. It didn't need to be happy hunky-dory. It just needed to satisfy me, and I felt satisfied. And I was so okay with how that ended, and it was great. So seriously, read these. Then I read Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson on my Kindle, and this was my first Morgan Matson book, and guys, I really liked it. I was surprised because I was needing something a little lighter after having read Prodigy and Champion. I thought, okay, I'll try it. It sounds a little cheesy because if you don't know, it's about a girl whose best friend up and leaves mysteriously one day and leaves her a list of things to do over the summer. What I loved was her parents were playwrights, so I got all the playwriting jokes that were in there, and that made me laugh and just made me happy. But I also liked the characters. I liked that the romance in the book developed slowly. I liked that there was a friendship element to it. I did have a little bit of trouble because the friendship felt very obsessive. I understand that the book was about the main girl breaking away from her best friend and the sort of dependency that she had there, but it felt a little too obsessive. Like, it just didn't sit well with me all the time, but I liked it as a light macaroni and cheese read. It was good, and I felt like that it was good for its genre. It makes me excited to read more Morgan Matson. Now I know that I have a good YA realism author that I can head to when I need something like that. The next book that I read, anybody who was on my Goodreads when I finished this realized I didn't like it, and that book is Shatter Me. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what the hype is. Also, I don't get the obsession with Warner. It must come later, but like anybody that does a 180 like that, I just don't trust. I don't care what the reasoning is gonna be, but I don't know. I also couldn't get over the language. I thought it was so dramatic and so poetic. Too much of a hyperbole for me, which is fine because that was the style and I understand it and I can appreciate that. I don't understand how every time she got kissed, like her skin lit on fire. What? It just felt so dramatic. I couldn't stand the insta-love. I didn't buy it. I didn't believe any of their feelings. I think it again was the language and it just felt too hyperbolic for me to believe anything that Juliet was telling us. Also, she was whiny as heck. I didn't like her as a narrator. I didn't buy her situation. I just didn't believe her. I didn't invest in her, and I finished it solely for the purpose of maybe this will get better, and it got kind of cool at the end with revealing of her abilities and what that's about, but that felt like a whole different story to me. I felt that it was disjointed from this dystopian universe that had started before, and now there's superpowers, and I don't understand. Like, I didn't get it, and it'll be very unlikely if I finish this series because I just am not interested. I don't really care. And everybody says it gets better, but it was not enough for me to move on. Now I'm gonna talk about my favorite book that I read in December. Oh my gosh, guys, this book was amazing. It was so good. And that is In a Handful of Dust by Mindy McGuiness. Oh my gosh, guys, Trina is so right. You have to pick up Mindy McGuiness, guys. This one was so much better than Not a Drop to Drink. I gave it 5 stars, and rightly so, because it takes place actually 10 years after Not a Drop to Drink, and I was worried about that at first. Yeah, totally, 100%. I love 27-year-old Lee so much better, and I just think that, oh, it's so good, and the journey of it all is great, and there were shocks and appropriate twists and turns in the way that she led you down the road, and you didn't really know what was going to happen, and also just her voice, the characters' voices and the way that she writes is so good. I just, oh, yay. That's what I also love about it too, is that it's so different. It's a different YA novel. I know that there's survival stories out there, and I know that there's like post-apocalyptic society stories out there. However, there's something about this one that's so unique, and I haven't heard this story before, or if I have, I don't recognize it enough where I can pick out all the archetypes and the tropes like that. It's different enough for me to get exciting, and I can't wait to read more of what Mindy McGuiness has. Now that I've said all that, I think this is one of the longest videos I've had, but I read some really good books, and I had a lot of solid opinions on them. So if you have any comments on the books that I read below, go ahead and shout them out to me. I'd love to have discussions with you guys, especially about the books that I'm ranting and raving about, in good ways and in bad ways. Until next time, guys, bye! Let me actually look up what I read this month, because I don't know offhand. To Goodreads! Thank goodness for Goodreads, right?